How you doing, guys? Eric from rulthewasteland.com. Jumping on here a little early tonight if you're present for the live because I have to leave at 6 or right after 6, so I won't be able to do a full live stream if I started at 6. So I used my massive brain to come up with a solution, and the solution was to start a little bit earlier. Um, but I'm also going to have to jump off probably right at 6 or right after. But I don't have a whole lot of things to talk about, so that's okay. We can jump on here and just wanted to make sure you guys know I'm still alive. And to remind you, what's up, that for the Patreon giveaway, for anyone who subscribed to Patreon, the first live stream of May, I'll be giving away this Ontario knife, Rat 7 Adventurer, nice big bushcrafting knife. This super lightweight paperweight made out of high density plastic. Someone will be winning 25 extra entries into June's drawing. And then we actually had a subscriber, one of the Patreon subscribers, who's going to be giving away, who sponsored a Patreon subscription. So I think it's one of the $10 ones. So even if you don't want to pay, go ahead and join the Patreon as a free member. And I will choose one for somebody from the free members will get a $10 or 1 month $10 membership, which you can choose to, you don't have to continue if you don't want to, but it'll make you give you a bunch of entries for the next one. And maybe I'll throw in this vintage 1993-ish Jurassic Park T-Rex tie. So you guys can go in style. Look at that coloring. Subtle, the tasteful thickness of it. It's great. So anyways, how you guys doing? Someone says, "Oh, area all secure. Good to know. How you doing, sir?" Are canned sardines the ultimate prepping food? So cheap, so long lasting, so nutritionally dense. I mean, you guys know I do love the canned fish, but specifically the canned mackerel, I think is much better. But you guys already know my choice for the ultimate prepping food. And it's not sardines. It's not even Spam. It is the wondrous, heavenly stag chili Laredo flavor. And there's a couple reasons for that. First of all, it's cheaper than the canned meats, like the pure canned meats, like Spam or like the sardines, especially. That stuff can get expensive. The Oscar canned mackerel that I get is really expensive. It's like $3 for each little can. I think stag chili is about the same, $2.88 some places, $3 some places. Stag chili, but it has 600 calories. It has protein, fats, and carbohydrates in it. It's most people will probably find it more palatable to eat just a can of chili by itself than they would just a can of sardines, that sort of thing. But I do love the canned sardines, the canned mackerel, the kippered herring, all that stuff. I have a big stack of it, but they're not that dense calorically. You get decent protein, good fats, and they do taste good. But if you're strictly talking calories per dollar ratio, the canned fishes are not the best, especially the tuna, because it doesn't even have any fat in it. It's just protein. So they're fantastic for adding storable protein to your food preps. And I think like the sardines and the mackerel stuff is a lot more delicious than regular canned tuna, which can be a bit dry. You'd want to add it to something, but they're all good choices. Canned tuna is a little bit cheaper for sure than the other ones, but the ultimate canned food, I think, is the stag chili. Even the others, I will concede that you could even possibly, maybe if you wanted to, go for some of the other brands. Wolf chili is always solid in terms of ingredients and stuff, but even the cheaper Hormel stuff, if you don't care, because I know I avoid like the TVP and the corn syrup and preservatives and stuff like that. But not everyone feels as religiously about that stuff as I do. So you can certainly just go with the regular Hormel. And if you want to know the dirty secret, I think Hormel owns Stag Chili anyway, but they don't put all that stuff in it, but they're still getting your money. So not being too crazy about it. But it's just, in my opinion, the Stag is tastes better anyway, and it just doesn't have any of that other crap in it. Mr. Phil Landfill says, hit that thumbs up button like it owes you money. Appreciate it. T-Rex has an estimated value of only $49.99. I actually think I was looking on eBay. I think these are more like $15 to $20 with shipping included. So you guys are getting a good deal. But it is genuine vintage. This thing is 30 years old. You should send that tie to Lucas at T-Rex Arms. He's a polarizing character, man. I'm not big into the gun tuber people. But I am there's a lot of crossover in the prepping and preparedness and tactical stuff. So I see a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of people that hate him, a lot of people that like him. I don't get what all the fuss is about either way, with all these gun people beefing with each other. I am far, far from an expert on any of the tactical stuff. As far as I know, he's pretty much credited with creating the holster design with a magazine attachment that pivots, but I'm not sure if he was literally the first to do that or not. But I don't watch any of these people's channels. I know of them, of all these guys. Usually I've come across them at least, just because of people I follow on Twitter and YouTube and whatnot, but I really don't watch. I'm not actually subscribed to very many of the tactical or gun channels. One of the few ones that I was subscribed to is Paul Harrell. He passed away, so that's one that we lost. That was very unfortunate. Good evening, South Florida. But in general, we can talk about what's going on in the world. Like for you guys who are here now, I did mention that I was starting a little early because I have to leave at 6 or 6:15. So instead of not doing it at all, I figured I could just jump on early, and the people who weren't present online at the time could always just jump on and watch it at the normal time, 6 or whenever, and hopefully still be able to see what's going on in the world, which is Cronin says, I own one of his Orion belts, mag holsters, and sidecars. Products are well thought out at a good price. That's what I've heard. For most of the stuff that I feel like people beef with him about is not related to the products. It's just whatever philosophical. There's a lot of autism in the gun community. There's a lot of legitimate beefs, like people will get mad about stuff that matters, but sometimes they act like it matters a little too much. And I think everyone just has their fucking special interests, as it were. A 50-50 mix of granola and peanut butter has 3 times the calories per pound that Stag chili has. Yeah, but what is the price of that and the storage capacities? Peanut butters and granola can last a decent amount of time, but it can't last as long as a canned good. But there's certainly nothing wrong with that. It's just a lot of people. I don't think I would eat or prefer to eat a mix of peanut butter and granola over a chili. It's pretty weird. Might not be bad for like a trail or eating on the go kind of thing compared to a cold can of chili. But there's no right answer, obviously, in terms of what you have to store food. It says if you scatter, bury the long-term storable food at your bug out location, you can walk beside a bicycle laden with the rest, towing a small trailer. Yeah, if you are planning on having to travel to a specific place in a disaster scenario, I think caches are important. I think randomly just caching stuff all over the place is probably just not going to work out very well. It's going to cost you a lot of money, and I think you should have a specific path before you start worrying about caches. But certainly nothing bad about that if you have the extra gear and money and locations that it makes it feasible. One of the more interesting things that I saw recently regarding prepping that is not related to anything in general was someone on Twitter, I believe from Florida, was referencing gear that they carry in their car for removing the guardrails on highways and interstates in the event of gridlock traffic, which is actually a pretty good idea. So they keep a giant breaker bar, a 1 1/4 or 1 1/2 inch socket, whatever it is, and a hammer to beat on it if they need to. So if those roads get gridlocked, you can actually go outside the road, because unlike out here, like out in the West, in a lot of areas, they don't have anything blocking the roads. It's just desert. So outside of the immediate city, there might be a little, cattle style fence or something. But if you have a real 4-wheel drive truck or something that's even all-wheel drive with decent ground, or even 2-wheel drive that's got decent clearance in most of the spot where it's just dry desert, you could go off road around blockages pretty easily. You might have to, like I said, remove some sort of small cattle fence, something which in an emergency you could usually just push over if you have a big truck. But back east, that is not the case. It's not the case in most areas of the country, probably. There's a lot of different types of guardrails, and having gear to remove that in a serious emergency. So either the sockets, if there's a known size for your area, or I don't know, maybe even like an acetylene torch or something. The chili won't cut it. You'll need to eat 4 pounds of it today just to hold up in a shelter. Um, the short-term food spoil in a year or so if you don't keep them frozen. Buy a small chest freezer. Coconut oil is 3,900 calories to the pound. Yeah, coconut oil is food, but it doesn't last particularly long. It can go, oil like that can go rancid. I don't know why you think the chili won't cut it. There's 600 pounds per can. So that's only 3 cans of chili that would definitely keep you alive. I mean, 1,800 calories. It's actually over 600. I think it's like 660 calories or something like that. But of course, I never recommend just eating any one thing. But I always talk about having a rice and all that stuff. So it's easy to bolster the calories of chili. But if you if you had to pick one thing for some reason, or if you just want to go stock up on a bunch of stuff that you don't have to worry too much about it being balanced, like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to cook this with. Like if you get something like just flour and you get a ton of flour, a ton of wheat berries, you have to do a lot of planning about how you're going to use it, what you're going to cook with it, what other ingredients you're going to do. Where if for people who are just doing a few months of food storage, they aren't going crazy like I have and like some of you may have, and going months and months or maybe even beyond a year, then balance is less important, and you just want something that you can store away and not have to think about too much. And something like the chili and even weird random shit like Chef Boyardee and ramen noodle pasta, all this stuff's fine for up to 6 months. It isn't going to really make a huge difference. You could eat, you're not going to die. You know what I mean? People talk about these nutritional imbalances and stuff like scurvy and all these weird stuff. Like you have to have an extremely restrictive diet to have most of these problems manifest within just a few months. And now that's not a reason why you shouldn't have balanced food storage, because if you can, you're going to be happier, you're going to be healthier, all in all. But if you're talking about putting away a month's worth of food, I've made these videos before about how you can have spam and rice, and for 110, $120 or less, depending on where you live, you can have a month's supply of calories. And everyone's like, you balanced it. And I, for the vast, vast majority of people, you will suffer no ill effects from eating a pretty restrictive diet for 1 month. Yeah, gold did it breach through? Oh, you're saying question mark gold 3,500 this week? Yeah, gold. I mean, we can't be proven more right, I guess, on our thesis long term. I don't like seeing gold spike up this fast because it means that we are. I think, in my mind, it makes me feel like we're nearing the end game, and I would love to buy more. But I mean, has there been a more true kind of guess than people being like gold, 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 and it's just marching upward, marching upward. Silver too. I think it was 3,300. Let me check APMEX right now. Last I checked, gold is at 33.85, up 1.25% today. Silver's at almost 33. I want more. I still like, I mean, I don't give financial advice. I don't know that the SEC or anything would give a shit about me anyway. But just personally, I would have no issue if I won the Wheel of Fortune jackpot for $1 million or whatever. I would have zero fears like just putting that all into gold and silver. I think that looking back at gold at even $3,000, $4,000, like people talk about like 3,300, 3,500, like in 10 years, it's gonna be looking like the prices boomers paid for their houses, I think, where you're if they were back in the day, are you like, should I buy this house for 50,000? That seems like a bit much, 50, 55. Maybe I should wait till it goes down to 45. And now that house is 350, 400,000, $1 million. I think that's where we're going. I mean, the trend is it's the same. It's the same issue that caused that for the most part. I mean, obviously you can talk about population and how that relates to housing and things like that too. But the main reason that we see everything from housing to gold and silver to food and everything else going up continuously over the decades and at an increasing rate is because of inflation. There's, micro reasons why certain things might get more expensive or less over a certain period of time, like eggs. Like the crazy price of eggs that we've seen recently is not explicitly related to inflation. That's more related to the fact that they've killed tens of millions of birds as a supposed measure against the bird flu. But in general, it's inflation. And yeah, don't forget the 600 acres in Elko. Yeah, dude, I'm not forgetting. Need somewhere to put some chickens one of these days. Yeah, dollar index below 99. The dollar, I do think, though, I do think that we will see a strengthening of the dollar short term in a major, if this stuff does break, just because I think that people don't know what to do. And they're going to revert to what they always do, just get out of everything. And in most people's normie minds, especially investors and financial types, being in the dollar is not like an investment, even though we know it is. You're choosing to put that's still an instrument. The only thing that's not a real instrument in that sense is gold and silver, is physical things, is land, is commodities, whatever. But they view those as being a trade, and the dollar as being just like money. And it's not, it's representative, it's an abstraction, but it's still what people are going to default to. So when things get weird, I think the paper gold and silver is probably going to get hit really hard, just like everything else. And I'm hoping at that time that'll be reflected somewhat in the physical precious metal price and premium, and that we'll be able to see what's going on and get some last minute partial deals or at least load up without having to completely break the bank when we see what's happening. Um, but the online paper gold, the GLD, even stuff like Sprott stuff that is technically backed, those may be hit pretty hard, may not recover. I don't know because we have so much going on with the way that like the whole idea of the great taking and the way all that these brokerage accounts and all that money is hypothecated and rehypothecated, and you don't even have a true first claim of ownership on your own stocks in brokerage accounts, stuff like that. So even if it's a legitimate gold company, mining company, um, you may not get the true value of that if things really start breaking apart in the financial system. So that's why I think you got to revert to the real thing. Boom. I just don't know how you can avoid molesting this gold and silver when you have it. So beautiful. So I'm going to be aiming to hopefully get as much as I can as an ongoing on an ongoing basis. The price to me is mostly irrelevant. The price to me when I see gold going up, I don't get happy. I get worried and I get bummed out that I'm not going to be able to get as much. I would love nothing more than to have something weird happen and the price of gold and silver plummets for a few weeks because unless they fix the financial system, the currency, the $40 trillion or whatever it is in national debt, um, it's just a short-term fluctuation. So I, as someone who has, like I've said before, an irresponsible amount of my net worth in physical precious metals, I certainly don't get mad when I see it go down because I know that the price is irrelevant until that system starts to crack up. So until then, the only thing that matters is how much more of it I can get. And for that cause, the price is better when it's lower. So I actually tend to get more worried when I see the price when like HTP was saying, 3,500 this week certainly looks like it. We're less than $200 off. Um, and as we've seen the crazy I pretty much called it exactly what was going to be happening this year in the markets with crazy volatility, but generally in a downward direction. We've seen like the biggest possible up days. We've seen some huge down days to where, but generally it's going down with the exception of gold and silver. Um, so yeah, so I still think it's a place to be. We're 33.85 now, so less than 150 bucks, which is like 5%, less than 5% increase, I think, right? To get to 3,500. And that's probably going to be 3,500 is probably going to be another big kind of mental, but 3,000 was probably the big one for that. And now it's just a currency thing. You know, it's a currency melt that melts down. It's just going to continue to happen. ICU Doc says 118 calories won't cut it. You'd have to weigh only 120 pounds and do nothing. Uh, doesn't cut it for what? What's your current body fat at? What are you going to be doing? It'll keep you alive. Is it going to be below the amount of calories that you're expending? Probably for a decent amount of people, but probably not for as many people as you may think. Um, but again, like so 4 cans then, whatever. 4 cans of chili if you for some reason had to eat it. Eat just chili. It's 2,400 over 2,400 calories. That's plenty for the vast majority of people. What about physical feet picks? What are those per ounce? Depends on what kind of stompers you're working with, I guess. I am not a foot guy. I couldn't tell you what works in that arena. Um, but there's a market for that, at least for a little while until the AI is able to make perfect pictures. SU says I've got 90 days worth of non-cooked food, dried fruit. Yeah, I think that stuff's a good idea to have too, even if it's just the freeze-dried stuff that you just have to heat up. Canned goods, like you said, are all okay to eat cold. It may not be pleasant. I think, like you said, the stuff like dried fruit, nuts, beef jerky, stuff that isn't just okay to eat uncooked, unheated, but also more pleasant. You know, any sort of granola bars or protein bars, dried fruit, raisins, dates, beet jerky, yeah, nut butters, like I said, peanut butter, almond butter, all that stuff. All that stuff's great for short term or just situations where you might not want to make a fire, might want to do something quickly, maybe you're more of like a high alert situation. You don't want to have to do all this meal prep. If you have to travel for some reason, stuff like that, certainly better to take. Says until all the dogs have been eaten, you don't want to have a fire and never have any sort of food inside your tunnel. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it always depends. I don't plan for any one specific type of scenario. Um, and like I mentioned before, you can cook propane inside your house with no one's going to know other than potential smells. But like I said, in the most part, for the most part, I'm not planning for one of these like Mad Max, um, every like super serious, insanely expansive grid down total apocalypse events. If that happens, so be it. My preps will be put me in a better position than people without these preps, but I'm not like planning for a complete meltdown. Um, it's just general preparedness that will help across all the scenarios, including a complete meltdown, but not exclusively designed for that because that's tough. It takes an entire lifestyle change, et cetera. If you really are saying, I think this is going to happen. And that's one of the things that I see across all these people that are um, like Greg Hunter. I love Greg Hunter and USA Watchdog. He does great interviews and stuff, but occasionally he'll have like the kind of over the top kooks on and who really think there's going to be like massive end of the world stuff. And they're like, but they're still involved in like normal business. They still live somewhere normal. And I'm like, you don't really, really believe what you're saying, or else you would not be living the lifestyle that you live. The issue is stashing 6 months worth of food and supplies. What happens if you have to bug out? All that really truly yours is what you can fit in your car when you leave. Yeah, of course. And that's why I think people should have a bug out plan, but it's certainly possible to fit 6 months worth of food in a truck. Um, and like I said, bugging out is only necessary if you have to leave your place. It's not always necessarily it's going to be like, that's it, chef. I'm bugging out, unless you have a specific place to go to. I found a box. Mr. Landfill says I found a box of soup cans that I lost and were date code 2014. Ate a can a day for 2 weeks. All tasted good. Not a hint of a problem. Keep your stock rotated. Yeah, exactly. I've done the same with old beans and stuff, um, etc. But let me know if you guys have any last minute. I do have to hit the road here pretty soon, but I appreciate you guys checking in. Like I said, I had to do it a little early because I did have to leave at the normal time. But check the Patreon and sign up. Even if you're not going to be paid, you can just sign up to the Patreon as unpaid because we had someone donate a $10 membership, which I'm going to pick from the unpaid just members of Patreon to get a free $10 subscription for June. So you'll get however many entries it is, you'll actually be eligible to win whatever the prizes are for June. But for April, then we have the big knife, we have the paperweight, and we have someone winning 25 free entries for that. Marcus says, I'm prepping for 15 years. The list never ends. There's always something you're missing. Exactly. And one of the things that I will also say that I'm going to make a video about this soon too is that a lot of us can say the same. We've been prepping for a long time, and that's great. It's fantastic. I wish everyone was doing the same. But it also goes to show you 15 years is a long time. Nothing too insane has happened to us over that time period. So you got to be ready to deal with life without anything major happening in the next 15 years either. So don't just dedicate all your time and effort and resources into things going bad. You want to do like Jack Spirko says, make decisions that make your life better when times get tough or even if they don't. So with that, I will let you guys go. I appreciate it. And we'll be talking to you guys soon. See if I can sign out.